of 2025 to order. So we'll start with our roll call and Asphodel Norwood, Mayor Wilford.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Burt. Kevin Monaghan, Mayor Graham.
2025 to,
So we'll start. Deputy Mayor Huntley. Can we get that echo stopped? Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll continue. Duro Dummer, Mayor Watson,
Good morning, Mayor.
and Deputy. It's okay, I usually do that. Deputy Mayor Nicholson, Havelock Belmont Methuen, Mayor Martin, and Deputy Mayor Webb, and North Kawartha, Mayor Amiot,
Merry Christmas.
and Deputy Mayor Whalen. I'm waiting for another comment, Jim.
Oh,
You usually give me a second comment.
can we come back?
Oh, I could, but I ate too much breakfast.
Ottawa South Monaghan, Mayor Taylor,
Here.
and myself, Deputy Mayor Clark. And in Selwyn, we have the Deputy Warden and Mayor Sinis. Present. And Deputy Mayor Black.
Present.
In Trent Lakes online, we have Mayor Lambshead
I am present.
and Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Present.
Thank you very much. We'll start now with our land acknowledgement. With deep respect, we acknowledge the lands and interconnected waterways that bind us together, the foundation for all life. These lands serve as a keeper of history and stories and are a source of inspiration. In recognizing this, we embrace that all living things possess an important energy and purpose. We extend the utmost gratitude to the original peoples who have been caretakers of these lands and waters of this region from time immemorial, and to this day who continue this commitment. Peterborough County's dedication to reconciliation remains steadfast. In this spirit, we are committed to nurturing meaningful partnerships and connections that contribute to an environment of prosperity and well-being for all generations to come. This acknowledgement is made on the Treaty 20 land and the territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe, and within the traditional lands of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nations. Further, our gratitude is extended to the nations of Alderville, Beausoleil, Curve Lake, Georgina Island, Hiawatha, Rama, and Scugog Island. Thank you. I'll now ask for a motion to adopt our agenda for today's meeting. And I see Councillor Nelson and seconder Councillor Burt. All in favor? Thank you. Does anyone have a disclosure of pecuniary interest in any agenda item? And if so, please disclose. And I see none. We have the minutes of our December the 3rd meeting in our packages. Motion to adopt, Mayor Martin and Mayor Martin, Councillor Martin and Councillor Black, all in favor. Thank you. So we'll move right on to our delegation and presentations. And we have past Minister of Health, the Honorable George Smitherman, and also Sherry Fournier Hudson, and they are founding partners of the Health Workforce Innovation, Inc. Is Sherry on? There she is. Welcome, Sherry. And our speaking to our physician recruitment. So welcome.
Thank you very much, everyone. Mayors, deputy mayors, thank you very much for the privilege of being here with my colleague Sherry online. Sherry sadly missed out on the lovely breakfast and the opportunity for me to get to know some of you better. It's a real privilege for Sherry and myself to be working in support of Peterborough County on a really essential matter of physician recruitment. We are very committed to helping to address the needs of, especially I would say, rural and more rural and remote places. Sherry and I formed a business last year and have really focused our attention on Eastern Ontario, working both with municipalities, counties, and also with several hospitals. Now, I am a big city boy, but I have got lots of roots in rural parts, etc., and a really, really strong commitment, like I said, to making sure that healthcare is available. We know that in this area, we've got lots of aging folks, and accordingly, it's really critical, of course, that we have good primary care for all. So Sherry and I have a presentation. I'll do some of it. She'll come on board, and then we'll be most happy to take any questions. And mostly what we would like to just reiterate is we've enjoyed already a really open, I think, and productive relationship with the staff of the county and quite a few of the local mayors, etc. But we're always open for conversation and to offer anything that we can from the insights that we have. Sherry ran a very large family health team in the Brockville area for more than 15 years with around 30 doctors. So you can imagine she's got a lot of insights about the nature of physician practices. And as you may know, I got to play a doctor on television for 5 years back in the day. So we can just to the next slide, please. This reiterates some of what we said. We're in contract with the county. Our obligation is to get you the doctors that you need. We got started a few months ago. We have a note there that says like our objective is to fill all of the doctor spots that are available. And one of the things that Sherry will give more information about is that in Ontario, there are some restrictions to the number of doctors that can practice in certain environments. So it's really, really critical that we have good relationships with the local practice environments to be able to help them to meet their needs. On the next page, we just want to mention that the model that we've worked on so far that I think is working very, very effectively with the county is kind of like what I sometimes describe as inside out. And that is that when leads come into the county from any variety of directions related to people expressing an interest in medical services, then the county will triage those and ship them out to us. And Jennifer's done that super successfully, and we feel like that model is going to be very, very efficient. And I just want to say is like, one of the things that Sherry and I notice in working with quite a few different clients is lots of people use the word crisis and emergency, but don't always necessarily operate that way in terms of their responsiveness. We have no such challenges here. We've really been so grateful for the very direct connection that we've been able to develop. One of the things that we had a chance to do already was working off of a lead that came through the municipality was to create a visit. On the next slide, I'll give some highlight to that, please, of a Dr. Khan. Now, Dr. Khan probably isn't going to land with us in the county because he's quite attractive to more urbanized settings on account of direction from his wife. But that having been said, I think that he said to me clearly, because I drove him from Mississauga here and back, he's like, the place where I'm practicing in the UK, I forced my wife a very, very small community. So my direction from her is that she wants to be in a larger urban area. So we had that somewhat stacked against us, I would say. That having been said, through the course of the day that we spent here with Dr. Khan, we provided really significant information to him, and I think he was really impressed with it. And I was very impressed with what we were able to present, and I'm very, very convinced that's going to be successful for us in the future. What I really want to emphasize there is not only did we do a really good lunch with nice folks for economic development, the Mayor Senes hosted, etc., but we gave Dr. Khan a lot of peer-to-peer FaceTime with doctors in the clinics where there are current openings. And I want to pay a particular tribute to Dr. Shannon because he sat with Dr. Khan and gave him insights that frequently actually aren't available. And it was a really, really good model for future success. So we want to thank everybody for their participation in that. Sherry will come on and talk somewhat about the efforts that we make on what we would describe as outbound leads. That is where we're finding eyeballs to bring attention to them here. Is it possible to bring Sherry up on the screen, please? You can start talking probably, Sherry, and they're gonna bring the visual up to, the
Okay,
visual up to
there we
follow.
go.
Yeah.
Thanks, George. So George alluded to Dr. Khan coming in through Jennifer. We also are really working hard, actually, maybe next slide, please. Sorry. Thank you. So we're really working hard with some partners that we have overseas, because one of the most important things is getting eyes on our communities like Peterborough County from places like the UK. It's really important that we have partners that we can work with to bring physicians to Peterborough County, to promote the opportunities that lie in Peterborough County. As you know, there are many, and we can't just rely on physicians from within Canada. George and I believe very strongly that, even though the provincial government is doing a lot of work increasing capacity in medical schools, we still, over the next, 7 to 10 years, are going to need to increase the capacity by bringing in physicians trained in other countries, such as the UK, as an example. So we have been really working and expanding the global network of our talent scouts to do this. We seek out very good matches and begin a dialogue with the prospective doctor and also the existing doctors within the clinics. We really seek to create a good match. I mean, without a good match, it's not going to work. Our focus really is on recruitment, but also on retention. Our goal is to make sure that when we recruit a physician, that they're going to stay in the community. It's really important. George really talked about this earlier, and the peer-to-peer approach. And I think that is so important, that the physicians, when they come to visit, they get an opportunity to sit with the physician and have discussions about what it is like to practice. They want to understand the contract that they are going to be signing with the group. They want to understand the money side of it. It's so important that they sit with the physician. They can sit with us all day long, but what they really want is they really want to speak to their peer or peers to find out really what it is that they will be, what the work life will be like when they arrive and when they're practicing here. Next slide, please. The next thing that's really important for George and myself is, and this is really a focus of retention, is the settlement piece. The settlement really depends on integration and what it's like when they actually live here. It's all great when we're talking about moving them here, but we have a strong belief in the rooting principle. We really believe, I shouldn't say we really believe, we really advise against financial incentives, because a well-run family practice is quite lucrative from the advantage point of the NHS system when you compare it against the physicians coming from the UK. We think financial incentives create a transient mindset among doctors. So offering $100,000 to move to Peterborough County and having a timeline on how long they stay, we are often seeing from other examples that the physicians will take the money, stay for the time that they signed up for, and then move on for the next $100,000. Instead, we promote community models that can provide short-term housing, access perhaps to a vehicle, and just really help the doctor and his family to settle. And an example of this is that when a physician is moving to Ontario, just to get their visa, if they have a family, they have to, in order for their family to get a visa and if they have young children, they have to have a school and an address for their children for their visas. So you have to be able to give an actual house address for them to have their visa. So there's a lot of things that as a community that you can do to really make things easier for that family to come to your community. So learning a lot about the importance of settlement makes a huge difference to help a physician land in your community. Next slide. The practice models vary significantly, and we have an excellent working knowledge of them. And I won't get into them, but there's many, and even amongst family health organizations, there's different practice models that were established within those types of family health organizations. Understanding the culture of the local practice helps us match opportunities to a prospect doctor. They're always asking a lot of questions. They want to understand a lot about the clinics that they're going to visit even before that they're going to the clinic. So really it's helpful for us to understand the expense structure, because even though they're going to go through that, they want a high level understanding before they even go to visit the clinic. There can also be limits of doctors that Ontario will allow to practice within a particular group. So we need to understand if the FO is only allowed, or family health organization is only allowed to have 15 in their group before they have to go back and ask the ministry to add on more, for an example. Those are things that, are very helpful for George and myself to understand while we're recruiting. Practice settings is a companion to the practice model noted above. There can be variable rates of overhead payment required from the docs. And, I already kind of spoke to that we really do need to understand what those rates are. Family physicians coming from the UK are really, from what we're seeing, are really wary, I think, of that amount, the expense amount of the practices. So that's something we're really paying attention to and really trying to gather that information ahead of time. 20 to 30% of the gross revenue for overhead is quite common, and reductions in this rate of overhead can be a competitive advantage for communities. Next slide, please. And George, I'm going to turn it over
back to me. I think that the first thing I would want to make the point is that physician recruitment is the culmination of events, but it takes a good bit of working knowledge of what the local settings are in the various practices, as Sherry mentioned. But with the experiences that Sherry and I have, we're also there to work with the county and with the administration already on advice around working with the policies of the province of Ontario to maximize the local potential, to take a look at a variety of practice model opportunities where a county might choose to be able to influence that. And I think that what Sherry and I really seek to bring, because we're both small business people at heart, is to recognize that while healthcare is an important and essential service and everybody should have access, it's also 12% of the gross domestic product of Canada, and it's a really serious economic developer. And we've really been trying to encourage the economic development folks and the administration to take a look at how policies can be used to not only give the community the doctors that it needs, but perhaps to create some concentrations of healthcare services, which creates ancillary employment. Like, we really think there's an economic side to this that goes with all of that public spending for healthcare, and we really want to work with the county and the local municipalities to be able to maximize that. I'll just give one example, is that practice in terms of being able to take advantage of provincial policy. There's a program that Ontario has called Practice Ready. Practice Ready is designed to take the most advanced of the foreign trained IMGs and give them 12-week cycles in communities to be able to have their certification completed. So local doctors play the role of assessors. There's a lot of challenging policies in there, even within the county. You have some municipalities with the high RIO score, which gives them some greater incentive than others. And my only point being is that we really, from the first time we were on board, tried to help to support the county and to also comment on policies where they're not quite working for the county. And Practice Ready would be one of those that I imagine we would come back to. So of course that means we're working hard to do good news on the other health apparatus, if you will, that's in the region, and those are noted there in the last bit of the slide. And the last strategic considerations on the final slide, please, will be some repetition of these points, but sometimes repetition is excellent for reinforcement. Healthcare is 12% of Canada's gross domestic product. Let's try to look for opportunities that Peterborough County should be a net provider of services rather than everybody in the county has to drive to the city. Like, let's look for opportunities to reverse the flow by attracting doctors that have clinic that people are interested to and have to come to Bridge North or to Keene or to Lakefield, or please insert the name of a leading part of your individual municipalities. So we really also want to comment on the extent to which the county has shown itself to be very proactive and progressive in terms of the deployment of paramedic services. We think that's really actually an even more significant part of the healthcare puzzle. In there is paramedics. They've got rolling wheels all over the place, and you folks have been leveraging them, I think, very well. And we look forward to trying to help to enhance those kinds of deployments. Technology is something that probably we want to speak about over time. We have some real challenges in our country with the interoperability of electronic health records. We have those problems in Peterborough County as well. There are some gaps. There are opportunities to create the interoperability of the health records of people in the county, and we would look forward to providing some advice around how that might look. And as matters arise, you know that from road meetings or info meetings or just reading news, that there are certain municipalities in Canada that have struck out on models where they end up becoming the employer of physicians. And we're not suggesting that's a model that you need to deploy, but definitely please understand that Sherry and I understand quite a bit of the financial implications of that. And we're always here to be able to be a resource to help make sure that you have more information. So we look forward to the opportunity to serve you as physician recruiters, so to be strategic partners in helping to improve access to healthcare services and also to improve the perception of Peterborough County in the grand scheme of things for access and also hopefully for some economic development prospects alongside that. So on that, Warden, we thank you for the chance for the presentation and more than happy to answer any questions.
So thank you. I guess I should have said the Honorable George Smitherman, having been a past Minister of Health. I apologize. And Sherry as well. Thank you for the presentation. And we're going to open it up to questions. We'll start with Councillor Griff and Councillor Whelan next.
Thank you, and through you, Warden. Thank you, Honorable George Smitherman. Nice to see you this morning. Thank you for coming, Sherry, and thank you for all the hard work that you're doing. A couple of questions and maybe a comment or two. I think a lot of mayors and municipalities are trying to solve this quagmire of a riddle that we've been inherited and in a way sort of downloaded. I guess from your work, I think one of the things that you're talking about, the strategic partnership, and one of the things I think would be a paramount help is informing us with certain advocacy avenues that we should be pursuing. We have yet to really venture into there because I think there's a barrier of expertise knowing exactly the nuances of the legislation and some of the restrictions that you're mentioning, both at a provincial level, but also at a local level when it comes to the health teams as well. For anyone who's dug into it, you start to understand the different tiers of obstacle that have been confronting the primary care world. So I guess sort of my first question would be sort of along that advocacy road, are there elements hindering Peterborough County's recruitment process that we can take to the conferences, the ROMAs, the AMOs, but also simply just send letters of advocacy to the appropriate members at the appropriate levels of government, just so that we can start, helping flush out some of these barriers? Because I can think of a myriad. I know we have some retired doctors that wanted to come back on a part-time basis, knowing the high level of need in the communities, and have been stalled and said there's no opportunity for that, which is seemingly an unfathomable barrier. But then you have a myriad of others that I won't go into because I'm sure you guys are familiar with. But is there any outputs from an advocacy standpoint that we can foresee in the immediate future? Because I think there's no extra time when it comes to getting ahead and making inroads in this effort.
Short answer, Sherry will have, Sherry and I were interchangeable on a lot of these things because we're looking from each other as we go. The short answer is yes. A specific example would be the Practice Ready Ontario program. And I think that that's a very good example where the county, especially working with the Eastern Ontario roads and such, could draw more attention, particularly to some of the challenges if you are a rural area and you already have too few doctors, it's very hard to be the practice-ready assessment spot. But right now the policy kind of drives. So that would be a very specific example where we could work with folks. And I would say, if you have doctors that are working part-time, they may not be a perfect fit to plug into a family health organization model, but I'm pretty sure I have an idea about how they can be deployed to the benefit of the people in the county. And some of that is working in partnership with other organizations like the Peterborough Family Health Team, which does a same day, next day clinic for unattached individuals that relies very heavily on retired doctors doing fee-for-service shifts. Now, we could push over time to have more of that clinic opportunity in Peterborough County, because I know there was some at one time and it's not there. That's a significant issue as well. And I hate to hear of any doctor that's going undeployed. So please feel free to reach out to us directly or through staff, and we'll try to find a place for them, because we need all hands on deck.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Whale.
Thanks very much. Nice to have you for breakfast, George. And always nice to meet somebody who goes to the same hairdresser.
15 minutes more efficient every day.
George, there's lots of problems to the county with our rural and everything. Is there any place that we should be sending our pros? Should we be sending to you and Sherry? Should we be sending to somebody at the county? Because while we have a lot of disadvantages, we have a lot of advantages as well. So I just wonder, is that any part of the program?
Yeah, because our job is to promote your communities and to get eyeballs on opportunities. So for us to do that effectively, we're in hand-to-hand combat with an individual doctor. It's critically important, but we need to understand what are the attributes of the local area and try to match that up to the interests of physicians. Sherry can talk more about that. You're muted.
I'm having a hard time hearing you, George, to be honest. So, yeah.
The question was about how to we the pillars of the individual communities that are represented in the county.
Your mom, it's not you, it's like maybe somebody else could repeat the question. Sorry.
So just asking what it's asking, Sherry, Councillor Whalen was asking, the more you know about our different municipalities, the ambience and, what we offer, how can we help promote or how can we grow that?
That's absolutely a huge piece to this. Like George, I think from what I got from the comment is so important. I think that the more we know and the more we can share with these candidates, it's like that's so important, because every candidate can be looking for different things. And I think that the more information that we can share with them, the better. Because, a lot of them think that they're looking to go to the GTA, but right now, even immigration is aware that the GTA doesn't need as many physicians, especially family physicians that are looking to go to the GTA. They recognize that they need to go to the more to smaller communities like Peterborough County. And so we really need to show them all there is to offer in Peterborough County. And so the more we know, the more we can share and we can tell the story.
Thanks very much, Sherry.
I have our CAO and then Councillor Black.
Thank you, and through you, just to kind of augment what's been said, George and Sherry have been working closely with Rhonda and Sarah and Tracy as well from a whole economic development and tourism perspective, because a lot of doctors that we attract will be attracted to the nature and to the backyard that they would come to live in. And we've also been working on a strategy to look at creating a database of businesses and creating a community of businesses that we'd be willing to partner with the township and county to contribute to integrating somebody into a community. George had mentioned, or Sherry had mentioned, a vehicle. When we're looking at bringing a certain candidate in, do they have children? What are their interests for schooling? What do they play hockey? Do they play lacrosse? So having all of that information when a candidate comes in that we can provide to them as a whole package so they can understand each of the community's differences and similarities is what we're pulling together as a group. And we're doing that with the local EDOs as well.
Yeah, it's what we have to offer and the uniqueness. Councillor Black.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, both of you. Worked most of my life in healthcare, and my brother-in-law, Alan Odette, says hello. Good friend of yours, who had Bill May for a number of years, so I heard all of the physician issues at family gatherings from Alan for a number of years, so I got a good understanding of both sides of it. But your presentation on the slides aren't numbered, but you say we think that financial incentives create a transient mindset among some doctors, and then in the next slide, the bottom says 20 to 30% of gross revenue for overheads is common, and reductions in this rate of overheads can be a competitive advantage for communities. So it kind of contradicts itself a little bit. So where's the balance there, Mr. Smitherman? It's a tough one, and there's a number of communities have tried different kinds of incentives to somebody going to medical school, pre-medical school to get them to sign, and incentives by providing staff to support, administrative staff to support the clinic, that sort of thing. So where's the balance there? I guess, like I said in your presentation, it kind of goes both ways for me.
Well, I do understand how you can conclude that, but I would say there's one difference would be when we talk about trying to find the model where overheads are low, that does not, from our standpoint, necessarily imply subsidy from the municipality. But we do think municipalities have a lot of powerful tools that they can deploy. And obviously there's been leadership in Norwood, just as an example. We have an active model there. There are variations on that model which can also be deployed. And we think that there needs to be some support for settlement costs. So it's not like we're saying that there aren't areas where some added expense might be necessary to support the doctor, but we really think that the financial incentive, which is tied to a specific time frame, runs the risk of creating that, what we would describe as a transient mindset amongst the docs. But even today, I was able to speak to some of your colleagues about, medical center developments. There's quite a few different approaches that we've seen deployed across Ontario that we can work with you and to take a look at in terms of trying to reduce those overheads over time.
Right. Perfect. Thank you.
Can I just add one? I just want to, add one thing to that comment, if I may. It also, things like that will increase retention because it's more long-term. If you can come up with a plan that reduces their overhead long-term, then that's more along the lines of retention as opposed to recruitment. So I think that George and I, as I said in one of my slides, I can't remember that, it's not just about recruitment, it's also about retention. So, handing them $100,000 at the beginning is great. That's recruitment, but then you want to really focus on retention. So I think that, there's two sides to this. So that's my only comment on that.
And just building slightly on that, if I could, Warden, we sometimes say that retention is the new attraction. When you look at the size of the medical schools, you can see it's going to they produce 1,500 spots a year. Docs that are retiring frequently take about 1.8 new docs to replace them because they don't work the same. So the extent to which we can find ways that hold on to the existing docs who have personally a lot of flexibility as to when they leave practice, that's also part and parcel of an important strategy. Like if you can get 10 docs to stay in practice 2 years longer, that's 20 doctor years, and that's not unimportant. So we always seek to keep that in mind, and we'll hang on to those that we have for as long as possible. And if they want to transition into part-time work, let's find an outlet for that.
Councillor Graham.
Yeah, Warden. Yeah, another sort of element that I think would be helpful in understanding is while you're focused more on the primary care side with the establishment of the downtown CHC and the potential for that to be the anchor or the hub for the spoke model that we're now sort of pursuing, is there an opportunity or any insights? I'm thinking more from a strategic sort of location standpoint as to, where the optimal spaces would be for these potential spokes for the hub to liaise with and be to address from that standpoint, because it sounds as though from that experience that a lot of the CHC models are more conducive to that sort of newer grad model because of the more supports and integrating into a local area from a health standpoint. That probably would more traditionally been through a FO or a LIN and that sort of standpoint. So is there cooperation or any sort of, kind of buddying up or liaising with considerations for expanding of that model as well to more non-traditionally address sort of the health inequity that we're experiencing throughout the municipalities?
The Peterborough CHC has been given a really significant budget and a very, very important mandate, which, if I understand it well, is to largely focus on the highest needs individuals in the city and in the county. Mm-hmm. And the extent to which they're going to be able to support programming outside of their hub, their big, beautiful new hub, I'm not personally sure. But the family health team, which many of your doctors in the county are part of, is an example where some of those ancillary clinical supports are available, and we can always be looking to leverage those. And just to your point, there is a certain attraction of a salaried model, which is what a community health center can offer to a doctor. But those are fairly limited in the Ontario practice model at the moment, where the broad majority of people in family practice are operating in these family health organization models. So far, the salaried opportunities are yet a bit limited. But as you say, there is a desire, sometimes on the part of the older doc that's tired of running their own practice, but would like to move over here and just walk in and turnkey basis. We see some attraction there. And also, as you say, with some of the new grads not interested in establishing businesses, et cetera, but more interested in being employees, those opportunities are yet a little bit limited.
Just a quick follow-up, if I could, one just on that topic. I think that one of the things that has been brought up in previous iterations of funding this effort from a county standpoint has been some of the obstructionist behaviors or decisions of certain FOs or family health teams historically with regards to recruitment. One of the things that we've asked for is, we understand that there's been some improvements in that, but I have yet to see it in writing. I don't have the confidence that all of those obstructions that were self-created by local agencies and local practicing physicians have been removed. And if we're going to invest additional monies and keep funding this effort and really try to get ahead, it's really counterproductive if we haven't removed any fetters that might still exist from a local standpoint. So I wonder, I'm sure there's a hesitancy to put it in writing. I can understand why, because there's still that autonomous control that they would like to have. And that, we can argue about that as much as we want, but it's reality. So I guess, have we crested the hill about local obstructionism that could fetter or impede your efforts and the efforts that are trying to address the needs in the communities?
I haven't got I got the message, but not the memo that lists all of the specific points of obstruction. But what we've been clear in saying to the staff is, we are well positioned, both Sherry and myself, to work with any of those that ought to be delivering services here and so far aren't. And you can always let me know quietly what but Sherry and I are not, like, we're a little bit prone to try and knock obstructions down, etc. We're a little impatient on that basis, and we don't really think that in a time when everyone's declaring crisis and emergency, when more than 30,000 people in the county don't have a family doctor, we don't have that much patience for obstruction either, and we're your partners in trying to address those. I only know about some of the, I might say, historical obstructions, but to the extent that we are aware of them and mandated by the administration, we're more than happy to try and address those. And to say, at the risk of highlighting a sensitive point, the head of the Peterborough Family Health Team is the person that reintroduced myself and Sherry. So, if that's an example where I feel like maybe there is an opportunity to extract more support for direct services in the county, and Sherry and I are very well positioned and armed to try and do that on your behalf. In writing part, that's gotta follow. I don't know, but I hear you about the firmness of commitments.
So thank you for that question and the follow-up. And this is, I want to put it out, this is also in other areas, not unique to Peterborough County. So we don't want to scare anybody away from Peterborough County. George is aware of them and Sherry working on them. So please go ahead, Sherry.
Thank you. Just a couple of items. With respect to the CHC, we actually sit as part of the Peterborough, Ontario Health Team Collaborative in discussing how things are moving forward, whether it be the CHC and where those folks will be, but also community paramedics and what their roles will be. And those meetings are going even forward more. Tricia and I were on a meeting last week with them and kind of leveraging more of what Peterborough paramedics can do. We did apply to the province for funding to try to do paramedics in clinic, but that funding was turned down because it didn't directly attach people to a physician. We knew that it wouldn't, but that it would be filling a gap. So George's talk about Practice Ready Ontario, we've been trying to push for that to occur in the county more. But to his point, the resources are so scarce now in the county, those physicians can't do that work. And so part of our advocacy and our request at Roma is for them to consider funding more and compensating more of those doctors in rural areas to consider taking on Practice Ready Ontario placement. And so far lately, the FOs have been great to work with, have been working really well with George, the FOs in the county. But we are looking at other strategic opportunities and whether that would be creating our own FO. Because there is opportunity right now for funding through the province for that. So I would expect that you'll see a report coming back from staff on other opportunities to expand other areas of care. And we've been talking with pharmacists, so we're trying to hit every angle that we can and trying to leverage our community paramedics as much as we can in this as well. So there will be more coming back to you.
All right, thank you. Don't see any other questions. I'd like to just say a few things. First of all, thank you for recognizing Chief Bromfield and our paramedics, because we certainly are well known across the province at being proactive and trying to fill those spots. And we will certainly keep, we did get turned down by the province, but that doesn't mean we will not keep trying that model to fill in for the needs of our people. The other thing too is, I think it's important that we do show physicians around the community and that we do, you mentioned that Dr. Bill Shannon, I worked for years at the hospital with Bill, and he will be certainly a champion. He's made that connection now with the doctor that did tour. And so those connections are important among the peers to sell our area further. So I think the more, my last and final, other than thanking you both, this is very important for you to come here and present. Are we getting a lot of reach out from the States, physicians that want to come north?
The situation, we are getting some action from the States. Has been a little bit more specialist focused than family docs so far, but we're definitely looking to try and find in adjacent states in particular to the Ontario border. At the moment, the biggest source of family physicians is the United Kingdom, because the national health system in the UK is both failing to take advantage of some people that are well licensed, and even those that are in what you might call a full-time practice are not compensated near as well as they are here. So we have a really good shot with them on both of those counts. Whereas in the United States case, frequently the doctor's going to be under pressure to make in some cases, to make a financial concession or otherwise. In the case of those UK docs, there's no scenario such as that. But we do expect more flow from the US over time. And of course, there's inter-Canadian flows as well. And Sherry and I would just want to reiterate that as much as possible, we focus on adding to the total number of doctors in Canada, not just reshuffling the deck and grabbing them from the next county over or what have you. But if it comes down to it, we will, because we work for you and not for them. We really are motivated to try and improve the number of doctors overall in the country, and that's why we focus a lot on those jurisdictions like the UK.
So no shame if we can get the gain, George. All right. Thank you both today for coming. We really appreciate that.
Anytime.
All right. Thank
Thanks.
you.
For having us.
Bye for now. All right. Pardon? Yes, can I have a resolution? Councillor Graham, Deputy Warden Sennis, all in favor? Thank you. And consent items. I have asked that 8B be pulled. Is there any other? And I see none. So the reason I have asked, we are asking for a staff direction to bring forward a draft policy for council's approval. And this is for the future requests for supporting additions to reserve processes. I would also ask that we do send a letter to our MPs regarding the future taxation losses. What is happening is if we are neighbors, municipalities to our Indigenous communities and they're purchasing land, it's that individual municipality that has a tax loss rather than the country as a whole. And it is a country that grants the addition of these lands. So I would like a letter sent if the council wishes to just address this so that everyone is made whole through this process. Thank you. So a mover for that, I see Councillor Webb and Councillor looking around trying to shake it up a bit. Councillor Armstrong, all in favor. Thank you. And I just need a motion for the rest of the correspondence then. And Councillor Lambshead and Councillor Welford, all in favor. Thank you. And we'll move right through to staff reports, and I'll turn it over to our clerk, Carrie.
Thank you. This report is before council for a formal resolution to further extend our current contract with Cunningham and Swan for Integrity Commissioner services. There are 3 lower tiers that will also be needing an extension in 2026, and they may also be requesting an extension from their respective councils. Staff recommend that council authorize a further extension of the agreement for an additional 2-year period with an option for a further 2 years. And if approved, staff will provide written notice to Cunningham and Swan to confirm the extension.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Any questions? And if not, just a motion then, please. And I'm looking at Councillor Taylor and Councillor Watson. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, Carrie, you were on again.
Okay, so this report is for council to request direction to join the 3 township community safety well-being plan, hopefully with the other 5 townships who may also be bringing a report to their respective councils requesting the same direction. This report was circulated to the CAOs prior to it being added to the agenda. And if approved, staff will be notifying the city of Peterborough that a new plan will be created and that the county will not be contributing $50,000 to the city in 2026 for the current plan.
Okay. That's Senator Councillor Burt, all in favor. Thank you. Does anyone have a notice of motion? I see none. Announcements. Yes, Councillor.
I'm on. Just wanted to let everyone know that yesterday it was a bit of a sad day for us because we accepted the retirement notices for our CAO and our clerk. Connie and Alana have been with, well, Connie almost 32 years and Alana for 25. So just wanted to let everyone know we're going to miss them greatly. But we are also looking for a deputy CAO. So we may have an announcement too, but just want to let folks know, I know some of us are going through this right now. I think it's hard, all that wisdom and knowledge, that they take with them, but they've they're working hard to set us up for success, but I just wanted to share that with everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Ahmed, and please wish them both happy retirement on behalf of County Council. So thank you. All right, anything else? Yes, Councillor Wilford.
Through you, Madam Warden, just a comment on that 50,000. I wonder if the 3 municipalities that went to the work to do that, if they could split that 50,000 between them. Because we are sharing with the rest of you. But beyond that, Norwood is having a community Christmas dinner at the town hall. It's on the 25th. The doors open at 1, dinner's from 2 to 3, and there's also entertainment. So if there's people around the community that have nowhere to go, it's open.
Oh, thank you. Very, very nice. That's a community spirit. Anything else? If not, I'd like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas on behalf of County Council and the county staff, and a happy and safe holiday as well. And we'll all be down to Asphodel, Norwood. What was the time again?
It's turkey.
And the meal is 2 to 3.
Okay, thank you.
And it's all ran by volunteers.
Oh, all volunteers, very good. All right, confirming bylaw, mover and seconder, mover Huntley and seconder Councillor Whalen. All in favor? Thank you. And adjournment. Councillor Nelson and Councillor Amiot, all in favor. Thank you.